Hello, thanks for tuning in. I'm Mr. Phil. Today, I'm going to show you my workflow. I built this app. You can see the landing page here. It's called Changesmith. I built this app with Claude Code. It didn't take me very long, maybe a week and a half. And I did a bunch of things that I've never done before. And I wanted to show you how what my workflow was like in accomplishing this. I have a little slideshow for you. Oops, I'm already on the last page here. Zoom. There we go. So I'm Mr. Phil. This is my channel, Mr. Phil Games, which is the name of my company. I am going to show you my AI coding workflow. And I think that's the important thing. This is about how to work with an AI. Now, I work specifically with Claude Code. I don't think anything I'm doing is unique to Claude Code. There may be a few things that are like highly tuned to how Claude works, but that's just because that's the tool that I use. And I don't think that any of the main models are particularly worse or better. I think it's just a matter of what works for you. And I've really found Claude Code to work the best for me. So I'm going to kind of go through the workflow, talk it through, and then we'll do a live demo of building an app. So I built a SaaS product. It's called Changesmith.dev. It's pretty simple. It uses AI to go through a repository and develop a change log that is user-facing, and it doesn't have all the roughness that commit messages can have. It actually looks at the commits and the PRs and gets some context so it can better create this thing. So it's all on the web. It logs into GitHub for you, looks at your repo, uses an AI to go through and then publish it or release it. Most of the tech stack, I've never done a lot of web development. My career has been more focused on things like C# apps and game development. So Unity, for example, not, Next.js or Node or JavaScript or TypeScript. All these things are kind of new to me. So this is one of the powers of AI, is that you don't have to know these technologies really well to be able to accomplish a lot in them. It's just a matter of using the AI smartly and collaborative. So I like to think of Claude as my co-developer or a partner. I think agents are more than just bots. They're like computers. They'll do what you ask them to, and they sometimes take that things too literally. So you have to give yourself wiggle room to maneuver and be iterative. Be okay with making mistakes, going in wrong directions, because that's one of the powers of using AI, is that you can get so much accomplished in such a short amount of time. It's okay to make mistakes. You can go down the wrong path and see what it's really like, and then decide, oh, this is wrong, back up and go down a different path. And I think it's a really important mindset to have when working with AI, is that mistakes are okay. They're something you can learn from and you can recover from, and the cost of them is very low because the AI builds software so quickly for you. Building and learning at the same time can be overwhelming. There's a lot of unknowns all at once. You can easily get lost and maybe even give up. So I have this system that helps me stay on track. But I think the real key here is that anytime you're confused or you're not sure about something, or the AI is doing something you don't understand, or there's a terminology or technology you don't understand, take a moment and ask the AI to explain things to you. I really want to emphasize this. That's the power of this, is that in any moment you can say, hold on, I don't understand something, or aren't you doing something that doesn't make sense to me? Explain it. And it'll explain it, and you'll either figure out, oh, okay, I understand better now, and I'm comfortable with going forward. Or you'll figure out, no, this is not the direction I want to go, and I actually want to change what we're doing. So it's important to not be afraid to interrupt and ask as much as you want. So my workflow is not complicated. At least I don't think it is. It's mainly based on a plan document, working with Claude in a collaborative way, a bug document, a tool that I wrote myself called AirTower, and then using an agent for code review. And agents are a special tool, let's call it, built into Claude, but other, agent software, they have this concept of agents too. It's just a way to change the persona of the AI to do a certain task in a more specialized way. So the plan document comes from you just basically having a conversation with Claude about what your idea is, what you want to build. And then once you kind of get to consensus on what you want to build, you tell it to write a plan, for development and implementation, break it into phases and save it to the PLAN.md. And the AI will be really smart. It'll come up with a really detailed plan with tasks. And then one of the tricks is in your Claude.md file or agents BUG.md, I believe it's called, if you're using a different model, point to the format that you want the plan to use. This doesn't have to be something you do, but I find it useful because my tools then know the format of these documents and can kind of give me some visualization into their state. And I'll get into the specialized tools a little bit later. Second thing is you just sort of want to emphasize that you're working with Claude Code or with your AI. You're not just prompting, you're collaborating. It's a back and forth. Don't be afraid to ask what something means. Ask it to review certain changes. You don't have to review the whole code base at once. You can review just recent changes or even specific commits if you want, if you feel like something was done that's not working out right. Another thing I like to do is just be like, hey, could we do X, Y, and Z? Is that possible? What's the feasibility of that? Using the word feasibility with AI is really smart. It'll tell you all kinds of things about trade-offs, and it'll tell you about time, effort, how much complexity there is. It's really powerful. The next step is the BUG.md, and this is a way to deal with context. You'll find yourself filling up context, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have all this information that I want to save for the next session. So this is where I use BUG.md. A lot of times when things come up, I'll tell it, okay, save these issues as bugs to BUG.md. And BUG.md is another document that I have a reference to in Claude.md that has a format so that my tools can look into it. Sometimes I'll know or figure out through reiteration that a bug is like extra complex, and so then I'll tell it to add context and steps to reproduce the bugs in the BUG.md file. And then something I like to do too is I'll write out the bugs into the bug file, and then I'll ask it to verify them because there is a chance that maybe there's a false positive. And it's kind of nice to know that you've double checked for that and that the bugs are really there. The way my format works is the bugs all get a number, so I can just tell it fix bug 3 and it'll go through and address that bug. And last but not least, this is important. I don't know how the other tools work, but in Claude Code, I have a way of seeing the context. And when it starts getting full, I'll tell it update the BUG.md, and then I'll clear the context, and I'll tell it to read the BUG.md, and then pick up from where we left off. There are occasionally times where I'm like really backed into a corner and like maybe the bug's really complex. In those cases, I'll tell it to save all the progress and context to another document called resume.md and just say to it, hey, let's capture everything that we're working on and save the next steps to the resume.md file so that we can pick up work later. And then it'll capture everything that it's doing, put it into the resume file. Then you can clear the context and start fresh, tell it to read the resume file and go forward from there. The 3 documents, the plan document, the bug document, and the resume document are all documents that I use very religiously. And part of that is because my tool that I'm about to show you can look into these documents and get a sense of their status so that I can look at my tool at a glance and know where we are. It gives me context not only in the moment, but also from day to day. I can leave a BUG.md in a file and know when I come back, like, oh yeah, I was working on bugs. I don't have to leave notes. So my tool is called AirTower, and you'll see it in the demo, but it's just a little window that sits to the side of my terminal. It looks into the Git repository and gathers stats like modified files or untracked files. It can see into the plan to tell how many phases have been completed. It can look at the bug to tell which ones have been fixed, and it shows me those documents exist in a quick glance. It really helped me develop this workflow that I have works really well for me. It's very customized to how I work. So I think that when I show this demo of the AirTower, don't think you need the AirTower. Just know that you can use Claude to build tools for your own workflow. I think that's one of the really powerful things. It's something I really love about working with AI is that anytime I notice some friction in my workflow, I can just add to my tools, create a new tool, add a new feature. It's been amazing the things that I've been able to get Claude to build for me. That is just really nice. It's one of my favorite things is building tools, I guess. Last but not least, the code review agent. This is specific to Claude. There's a little agents folder where you describe how Claude should behave for a certain activity, and then you can call that agent from the code to do something. And I have one that does the code review, and I'll dive into that in more detail. But it basically, you should definitely read the documentation on agents. I'm sure whatever model you're working with has a similar concept. Sometimes people call them sub-agents. Review your agent. Tell it, write your agent out and then tell Claude, hey, look at this agent. This is what I'm trying to do. make suggestions on how to improve it, and you'll get a really high quality agent out of that. That's what I've done with all of my agents. I didn't write them myself. I had Claude help me. Then once you call up the agent, it does the review. It's going to identify a bunch of issues. And what I like to do is say, okay, capture the issues as bugs in the BUG.md file so that I can track them and I can easily fill up context, save it, clear the context, go back to work. And then another thing I found is that it doesn't always get all the issues. When you tell it to review it, you need to do that several times. I tend to repeat until it stops finding critical and high items. And once it's down to just medium and low impact items, I sort of give up. I've yet to find a case where it did a review and didn't find anything. It always finds something. I think that's just the nature of how cooperative and I don't know, pleasing the agent wants to be, that it's just always going to find an issue and there's just no end to the review, really. You just have to reach a point of quality where you say, like, that's good enough. One of the things my agent does is it categorically scores everything on a scale of 1 to 10. So it'll be like security, 6 out of 10. And I try to reach above 8 before I feel really confident in the quality of the code. So let's do the demo. I have an idea. Wanted to make something that kind of works like changelog, but is a little different. So my idea is that we're going to make a tool that looks into GitHub repositories and summarizes the issues. And for fun, we're going to use the Anthropic's Claude Code repository as our target. Not sure this is really a tool you'd want. Maybe it's useful for if you're doing on an open source project that's really big and you want to not have to read through all the issues, but you want to get a sense for them. I guess this could be useful. I don't think this is, as you'll see, this won't take long. So it's definitely the kind of thing that you could probably just prompt Claude to do and it would do it for you. It doesn't need to be a tool, but maybe you wanted to put this into your workflow as an automated part of deploying in your CI or CD. Yeah. So don't think I'm like, hey, look, I'm making this amazing app that's going to make you rich live here. That's not at all what this idea is. It's just an example of something that works similar to changelog and will show you how my workflow, because that's really what I'm trying to show you right now is not that how to program with Claude, but how to look at my workflow and get some ideas from that and then customize your own workflow. So I use the Apple terminal, just the built-in one. I am on Mac OS. I don't do any development on Windows. I'll cross-deploy and then go make sure the app runs on my laptop that I play games with. I don't do any development on it, though. There's been a few times where I've had to debug stuff. And in those cases, I found that just going back and forth is enough. So let's make this window bigger. And you can see as I've been opening this window, there's another window here that's kind of following along, and that's the AirTower tool that I've written. One of the things it does is it looks for the terminal, and it only displays when the terminal's got the focus. So when I click back to the slideshow, you'll notice that it disappears. That way it's not in the way. All right, let's bring this down a little. Maybe we'll make it bigger, just so it looks nice and big on the stream. See what else can we do here. That's about all I can do. Let's put it like this. Let's make it a little bit, bring it in a little. I'm sorry about this. There. Okay, so got my terminal going. I'm at my thing. I keep all my projects in a fun directory. And the first thing I do is I go to GitHub and I create a Git repository. So you go to your repositories, click new, give the repository a name. Let's call it Git Issue Summarizer. I think I spelled it right. Maybe I didn't. Maybe Claude can help me. Oh, I'm not in Claude yet. Well, we'll just call it so. There we go. I'll make this public so you can look at it if you want. And I don't know what tech it's going to use. Probably JS of some sort, but I'll leave that thing and then I'll give this an MIT license so anyone can use this tool. I like doing open source stuff, especially if it only takes you one day to do. What's the point in trying to keep it closed source, right? All right, so then I take the URL, go to my terminal, do a git clone. That worked. Then we change into the issue and we start up Claude. There we go. Now you can see that the AirTower has kind of come alive. So we got our directory, we got what branch we're on and what upstream it points to. We have this little change dashboard that says how many files are unstaged, modified, or untracked. And then we can see we've got a list of recent commits. So it says the initial commit that I created on the GitHub website. And then I have this little clean tag that tells me that everything's checked in. There's no files that are hanging out. You'll see that there's a bunch of little tags that line up here. The idea is I can just look over there real quick, get a real quick sense of how my project's health is and what I should work on next. So the next thing is I want to just, let's see, let me look at it's my slideshow here. Yeah, here's the demo. So the first thing is we need to come up with our plan doc. The way we do that is we say, hey, I have an idea about building a tool. Let's call it a CLI tool that looks at a hub repo and summarizes all the issues. Let's see what Claude says to this. So, okay, this is something to point out. I didn't do it, but it's really smart to tell it to ask you questions. I'll often say, I'll put hey, I'm thinking about this. And then at the end, I'll say, ask clarifying questions. In this case, Claude fortunately has decided to ask me some questions. And it's saying, should we use Python? What language to use? Now, maybe you don't know. So what you can do is you can go down to the type something choice and say, hey, I'm not sure. What are the trade-offs? And then it's saying, oh, so it's gotten smart. It's like, oh, are you thinking an AI-powered summarizer or a statistical summarizer? We want AI-powered. And let's see, what intended input? Are we going to just give it the link to the repo? Yeah, I think so. Then we hit submit. Now it's going to think about these answers and respond to my customized answer about whether or not to use a language. So here we go. Got a nice summary. Python's the fastest. It's got a rich library. Downside is it requires Python to be installed. Distribution is messier. Node.js is quick to build. It's got a good CLI framework. Anthropic has a first-party TypeScript SDK. I didn't know that. Some distribution problems is the same distribution problems as Python requires Node runtime. Go compiles to a single binary, easy to distribute. Good GitHub libraries, solid CLI framework. No official Anthropic SDK, so you'd call the API via HTTP directly. That's fine. And then Rust also compiles to a single binary, very fast, steeper learning curve, slower to iterate. No official Anthropic SDK either. Then it says that for tools that call the GitHub API and then sends issues to an LLM for summarization, Python is probably the pragmatic choice. Fastest to build, first-party Anthropic SDK, and type/click make CLI development smooth. If distribution matters a lot, you want to share a single binary, Go would be the pick. What are you leaning towards? So if you're going to follow along, pick whatever language you want, to be honest. I don't think it really matters. For me, I'm going to use Go, and I'm going to do that because it's not a language that I really know. I think I've made one project with Claude that has Go, and I didn't even finish it. So let's go with Go. All right. So now it's going to do some thinking. I might cut this part because it will take it a little bit. All right. So Claude has come back with a plan. It went into plan mode, which is a feature of Claude Code. And I don't usually read all the plans. I kind of glean or glance over them, make sure things make sense. Yeah, it's got a project structure. That's fine. Dependencies. Maybe you don't want to use Cobra. You could tell it, hey, I don't want to use Cobra. How can we address this? It's got usage, some flags, maximum issues. That makes sense. Got some environment variables, got some key decisions here. It's going to page. It says it's going to filter the PRs. It's going to truncate so it doesn't go into super long ones. I love summary 2 to 3 sentences, main themes, notable patterns, top 5 most important issues. That's nice. This is how it's going to build it. This is how it's going to verify that it works. And so usually what I do here is I don't say clear the context and auto accept. What I say is I go to the type in and say, save this plan to PLAN.md, and then, oops, I left a thing out. You don't have to fix that really. It'll figure it out. Save this plan to PLAN.md and then start work. So you didn't get the clear the context, which is nice, but since you're putting it into the plan, then you can always tell it to stop working, update the plan, clear the context, and start the plan thing. Yep, we want to create the plan. You may notice that I have it asks me a lot of questions because I don't play in YOLO mode. I do have some tools put into the allow list that are whitelisted, but a lot of tools that I find that it's not so much that Claude might do something wrong. It's just nice to know when it's doing something kind of dangerous that it gives you a chance to intervene easily. Like if it's going to remove a directory or something, you're there to be like, okay, why are you removing this directory? And if it makes sense, then you just say yes. And if not, then you say, hey, this doesn't make sense. Why are you doing this? So it says, oh, so it's nice. It's written the plan, and then it's giving us a chance to clear the context and start editing. So I'm going to say yes. And then again, it'll think for a while. Now you can see already a couple things have happened in the AirTower over here. One is that I have an untracked file. And I can go over there and it'll show me what the file is. See, it says plan. It's like, yep, that makes sense. We just made the plan. Plan's not in the repository yet. And the other thing you'll notice is that there's this little purple tag that's shown up and it says 0 out of 0. So I didn't integrate the project with my Git AirTower configuration. So it used a different format for plan. It's because I didn't set up the Claude.md file yet. We'll interrupt here and fix that. So we'll say, hit the escape to quit and say, I want to integrate AirTower with this project. Now what's going to happen is in my user Claude.md, I have a little blurb that tells it what AirTower is, where the documentation is, and the documentation tells it how to integrate with the project. So it's going to think about that, go read the Claude.md file, and then read the documentation. It's probably going to ask if it can read the documentation here in a minute. Looks like it figured it out. So it's writing some configuration files, so it knows where things are. It's writing a script for building the project now. So that's part of how this works. You see 2 new tags have shown up on AirTower. One's for the build, which is currently unknown, so it's yellow, and then the other one's for tests, which is also unknown. It makes sense because we haven't built anything, so there's no build and there's no tests. It's wanting to give permissions to the build file, which is run build. That's specified in the AirTower documentation. Now it's realized that the plan document's not in the right format, so it's going to update the format, which is basically putting these check marks in there so that it can count. See how it now says 0 out of 14? There's 14 steps to the plan. None have been done, and now the integration works. If there was a bug file, that would show up as a tag 2 with a 0 out of 7 or whatever. So these, you can see it says dirty too because there's an untracked file. Well, 5 untracked files now. So I'm going to tell it to commit and it's going to analyze the files, which were basically the files created for the integration with AirTower. Yeah, see it's adding the configuration file, the Claude, the plan. Might not want to put the plan in this commit, but I don't worry about it. The commits, when working with AI, I find the commits they're more like checkpoints. They're not really like, you're not trying to get granular like you would as a normal developer who's worried about sort of compartmentalizing the changes that you make and documenting them. It's not as important with AI. Git's there to give you a backup plan, some history. It's nice how it writes up a lot of history. So even though maybe a commit's not as atomic as you might like, it still captures all the information that you need. And I've yet to find a case where I was upset that the plan got mixed in with a commit that had a certain purpose. So it's also adding the build script and the test scripts. We're going to say yes. And then now you see that some things have changed in AirTower. The files are no longer untracked and there's a commit to push. So we're not going to bother pushing. We're just going to keep working. So now it's suggesting now implement the plan. Yep, that's exactly what we want to do. So we'll hit tab to complete the suggestion and off we go. I'm trying to think. AirTower is written in Swift, maybe Swift UI. Honestly, it's been a minute since I built it with Claude. It's pretty good. I find it doesn't work well with work trees, which I still haven't wrapped my head around work trees. I don't find them useful. I still use the old-fashioned branch strategy. Looks like it's asking permission to use Go. And I'm going to say yes. So what else can I tell about the AirTower? It follows the window. You'll notice if I move it, it goes with it. And I think I showed you that it disappears when you're not in the terminal. So there's a little permissions. It has it was allowed to track the terminal, which is like, I think called an interaction permission, something like that. What else can it do? I think we've shown most of the cool features. It's a really nice tool. I've thought about selling it because I think other people could benefit from it, but it's not like it took me a lot of work to build it. And I feel like if you're competent at using AI, you can build your own tools. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. You tell me in the comments. Maybe I'm not thinking this through, that people would love this tool. And because it is nice and it gives you some nice visibility on what's going on with your projects so you don't have to constantly ask Claude about things. And the tags are nice to know, like you can see, oh, the build's not building or the tests are out of date. So it gives you a sense of like where you are in the process, what you need to do next. And it also like kind of enforces a workflow, right? Because you've got these plan documents and bug documents and resume documents that are interconnected with AirTower. It helps you know where your workflow is, what state you're in, what you need to do next, all in a quick glance. There's permission to do that tidy. I'm going to build. Now, use the build script. So now you see that the build was successful and our tag went to OK in green. Isn't that cool? Yeah, I love it. Okay, what is it doing here? I don't know. Oh, it's going to run the CLI. All right, it looks like it's done building. It's done. Looks like it did some testing. Let me go back up here. Yeah, I'm not sure. It didn't run the test script. We can tell that because the tests still say yellow, which means they're stale. The tool is smart about how long it's been since the last build or test run. And after an hour, it goes to stale. It turns to yellow, signifying that it's stale. Oh, and you can see that Claude automatically updated the plan. And it now says that 13 tasks have been completed out of 14. So we're almost done. It isn't taking long, as you can see. So this is usually when I commit, whenever we kind of reach these moments where it's done some work and it's happy about it. I just commit. I just let it write the message and I accept it as is. Oh, it's being smart. It's like, oh, you've got some files that should be added to the git ignore and it's adding them for us. And then now it's got a nice little message about what it does and how it works. I'm going to say yes, made the commit. Now we're back to a clean state. We got 2 commits to push. It's suggesting to push it, but I'm not gonna. What I'm gonna do is say, what is left to work on according to the plan? What's that one thing that isn't checked? Manual verification. This requires running the tool with the valid Anthropic key against the real GitHub repository. Blah, blah, blah. So I'm pretty sure that my environment already has the Anthropic API key, so I'm not going to set that up, which I'd have to do in private and edit the screen or whatever, and I don't want to do all that. So it's suggesting we should test. I think that's smart. Let's do that. It should run the test script, which will integrate with AirTower. I hope it doesn't expose my key here. Oh, it says it's not set. Okay. Well, I might have to cut this part. But anyways, I think you're probably competent enough that adding an environment variable isn't something that I need to walk you through. Let's see. Okay. I'm surprised I don't have a key. Okay. So I've went through the process of getting my key set up in my environment, and I've asked Claude to check it, and it did. It says it's set, so now we can run the tests. And there are no tests. I'm not sure why that is. Let's add some tests. So yeah, Claude doesn't always make tests. You have to kind of push it in that direction sometimes. Okay, so it's done some analysis, and this is what it's decided, that there's some different approaches to the tests. You can scroll up here and it says that mocking would be needed. So it's saying, hey, should we do that or should we just focus on the functions? I'm going to say all of the above. Oh, look, it's entered plan mode. We've got good context because I had to edit the terminal once I added the environment variable. Worth noting. It's kind of annoying that you have to do that, but that's where the resume file comes into play. If you find yourself in a situation where you need to shut down Claude or shut down the terminal, you can just tell Claude, hey, save the current context and what we're working on and what the next steps are to resume.md so we can pick up work later. And it'll save all the context. You can exit everything, restart the terminal, come back, and then just tell it to read the resume file and pick up where you left off. Now, sometimes I would tell it, I'd go to the type here and tell it to save the plan to resume. But I think that we've got plenty of context and we don't need to do that. If context starts getting full, I'll interrupt and tell it to save it to resume. Oh, I know something that while it's doing that, I forgot to show that if you go over here to the AirTower and right click on some of these buttons, they have things. So for example, you can delete the plan file. If you click the build button, you can instigate a build directly through that. Same with the tests. I tend to just tell Claude to do it. I think that makes sense because it keeps it in context and Claude can respond to any errors that occurred during the build or the test. I should create a resume file just so you can see the resume tag. I'm going to say save context and next steps to resume.md so we can pick up work later. One of the nice things about Claude is you can send it messages and while it's working and it'll respond to them. Looks like I'm done with the test building anyways. We'll see if it builds the resume file or not. Oh yeah, something else is you can click on the plan and it opens up this little window that shows you the tasks, which ones have been crossed out, which ones are left. So you can manually look at things yourself. I don't have it where you can edit in this document. I find it's not really necessary. This click to view works for the resume too, so you can see what it said if you need to. And the BUG.md file works the same way. I haven't shown you BUG.md, have I? We haven't run into any bugs. Maybe I'll just fake one. Just for fun, create a fake bug and save it to BUG.md. Whoops. So I'll go through just the workflow for this. There, see, now the bug tag has shown up. It says 0 out of 1. It's red because it's not been fixed. So then normally what I do is I'll just clear the context and tell it to read the bug.md and verify it is a bug. So now it's going to read the context, figure out if the bug is actually happening, and it should come back and say, hey, there's no bug. Bug report appears to be fictional or humorous. Oh, that's funny. So we'll tell it to close the bug, and then it'll go into the document and mark it as fixed. Now the bug icon is green. It says 1 out of 1. Everything's been good. Our tests have worked. Our builds are okay. We don't need a resume file anymore, so I'm going to delete the resume file, and I'm going to delete the bug, and I'm going to commit this. So it was aware of the bug. It existed, and it tried to add it, but since I deleted it, it caused an error, but Claude figured that out real quick. Sometimes Claude will constitute files when I delete them. It's one of the annoying things. One thing you could do is put all of these documents into your git ignore. I don't do that, not so much because I'm tracking them, but because what I found is Claude tends to add them anyways because it thinks they're important documents. So having them in the git ignore just creates this step where it tries to add the bug file, for example. It's a git ignore, so then git rejects the add, and then Claude has to think about it and then decide to take it out of the add. So I just let it check it in whenever it feels like. I don't see, so as you can see, the bug's back, bug document's back. So I just let it do what it wants. It's kind of annoying because sometimes it causes merge conflicts because you've deleted files or the bugs are different. It's just one of those things you kind of have to live with. Nothing's perfect, right? You just want to get it as good as you can. And always remember that the best is the enemy of the good. If you try to do things perfect, you're just never going to get there, and you're going to just spin your wheels trying to get there. There's no point in it. That's where asking Claude if something's feasible, is really powerful because it'll raise any issues that maybe you're not thinking about, that something's going to be really complicated or it's going to take a long time. Or sometimes even Claude will be like, yeah, this is a low effort, low complexity, but there's no real point in doing it because there's no good reason to or good outcome or benefits from doing it. So asking Claude if something's feasible, big tip. All right. So looks like this is something Claude does too, is it doesn't commit everything. It commits what's valid to the context. And since I cleared the context, since making all the changes, it didn't commit everything. So I just tell it to commit it. Again, this messes up your atomic commits that you might want to preserve as a traditional programmer, but I find when working with AI, it doesn't really matter. What's important is that you're backing up, getting some messages on your commits. That's good enough to know what the code base is about and has changed and where problems might be coming from. All right, so here we are. Our build is, I can look at the AirTower and I can see the build is good, the tests are good, the bug is good. The plan is missing one step, which we looked at earlier, which was because there's a manual step that we haven't done yet. The Git repo is clean. We've got 4 commits to push. There's no staged files, no modified files or untracked files. And we can even look at our commit history and get a sense for like, okay, yep, we are in a good place. Okay, let's test it on a real repo. How do I do that? So I'm not going to set up the GitHub token. We'll just live with it. Based on the project, so you run build, which we did. Build's good. And we do our keys. Yep. And then we run, this is our CLI. And then we need a repo. We were going to use the Claude repo. So let's search for it. Claude Code. There we go. Copy the URL. Go back to our terminal and see what happens. Oh, it doesn't expect a full URL. Well, that seems like natural. Can we make it handle URLs too? Okay. Yeah, we've added this new feature. We've run the build. We've run the tests. Everything's good to go. So now I'm going to run it again. Oh, so it didn't pick up my environment variable. Why isn't my environment working with this CLI? So it's a little confused. No, if you test, you'll find the environment variable. The error was, and then I'll quote what it said. What did it say? That command needs you to actually run, try, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it didn't run it. It just assumed that I needed to set the key. Didn't notice that. But okay, it should work now. Found 200 issues, which I think there's more issues than that, but our default is to limit it to 200, which makes sense. We don't want to burn our keys. Okay, what happened to our summary? Well, it seems to be really confused. What about the output from running the CLI? I want to see it. No, I just want you to run it in a way that I see the output. Okay. Here we go. Fetching found 200, setting to analysis, significant infrastructure instability, particularly around the Windows compatibility and Chrome extension integration. Anyways, you can read this. You can run the tool yourself, but it's interesting that notable patterns, Windows, Chrome, authentication, memory management, platform inconsistencies. Top 5 issues are host crash, VS Code, blah, blah, blah. So, hey, this tool's kind of useful. I didn't have to go through the whole issues to figure it out. Boom. We made something useful. Let's commit our improvement. We'll push the changes. And then I'll make sure that the repository looks right. I'm sure it is. Yep, there we go. Let's update the read. Update the README to explain this was a demo of my Claude Code workflow. Now to the CLI tool, include placeholder links to the deck and video. I'll check in the deck so you can look at it if you want. I don't know if that'll be useful. It doesn't really have a whole lot of detailed information. Okay, we'll commit and then we'll go refresh. And there it is. How to use it. Links. Very nice. So let's add what is this to the about. Let's do Git issues, demo, Claude. We'll do Claude Code. What else? Workflow. Okay, nice. So now the repository, I'll put a link to this repo below and let's wrap up. Switch over to my deck, which is here. Yep. So let's just do a quick review. We discussed the idea with Claude, then we told him to save it to Plan. Then we worked together with Claude to make sure the tech was set up the way we wanted, etc. Then I showed you how to use the bug. If the bug came up, how to save it and how to use it. Clear context between bugs if you want. I explained how AirTower worked, and whoa, I'm glad I looked at this slide because I've forgotten the step. We didn't do a code review. Let's do the code review. So the way you call an agent in Claude Code is you hit @ and then you start typing its name and then you select it. And my code review is called Codebase QA Reviewer Agent. And I just call the agent. I don't even tell it anything. So now it's going to go through the code, see what changes need to be made. It'll probably come up with a couple things. It's pretty good at always finding something. But if it's not critical or high, I'll do medium sometimes. Honestly, in my workflow is usually the first couple reviews, I'll try to fix everything. And then after like the third try, I start ignoring the low to nitpicky items. Okay, we're back. And so what does it say? We've got some critical issues. No HTTP timeouts, okay? No context support. Users can't cancel long-running requests with the control C. We want to do that. Status code check after JSON decode. Could get some misleading errors. Okay. Moderate. No retry logic. No input validation. Missing user agent header. No content type verification. Strengths. Clean. Idiomatic. Good test coverage. Correct pagination. Minimal dependencies. Testing gaps. No tests for parse repo edge cases, no integration end-to-end tests, and no benchmark tests. So usually what I say, especially on the first two, is I say, let's fix as many issues as possible. And usually there's enough context to fix everything. You don't need to worry about saving everything to bugs. If there's a lot, maybe I'll do it. In this case, it went into plan mode, so I'll be able to clear the context before it starts anyways. And you always can stop it when context gets low and send it to the resume file. Oh, I haven't really pointed it out, but if you look below where I type, there's some information. This is the status line. This is a Claude Code feature. It's something you can customize. I just have it showing the time, the directory, the branch. Yeah, we're going to clear the context and start the plan. The branch, a little graphics indicating the state of the branch, checkmark being clean. And then what's important here that I wanted to point out is the context. That's one of the things that you can add to your status line is how full the context is. So you can see it's green. It'll turn red when we get to like 80%, I think. And then you're running out of context and you need to wrap up or save to the resume file. I don't know if other tools have that, but it sure is great to see context. I haven't tried to add context to my AirTower. I don't know how easy that would be. I'm a feeling it would be difficult. So it's nice that I can just have it on the status line. I guess some tools don't let you manage context directly and they do it automatically. I guess that works for some models and not for others. You can compact when your context fills up, but I just find you might as well just manage your workflow and clear the context when it gets full. No sense in depending on the compact. Just save the information that's important and start over. All right, so it's fixing all the issues it found. It's going to build, which was successful. Now it's going to run the tests. Looks like it found kind of an issue in the tests. Everything looks good. Here's what we did. We'll commit this. Yeah, I honestly don't test the fixes to those things. They usually work out fine. I might run a holistic run, but the tests are passing. I trust the code's good. Let's just run it one more time. Tip with Claude is you can use the up arrow to go to previous messages. There we go. We'll run it again against Claude Code. Maybe this time it'll show me the output without being weird. Give me the summary. Looks like very similar to what we had before. A little less verbose this time. That's AI. AI for you. It's not deterministic. It has some randomness in how it performs. So maybe a feature would be to add a longer, more verbose summary or tell it to give you more critical issues or maybe a way to dig into categories if we were like looking for something. Anyways, there's a lot of ways to improve this little tool, but we'll do a push. And I think that's going to be about it. Back to my demo. We kind of went over everything. Let me show you what the actual agent looks like. So we go to our Claude folder and we find our agents folder, agents, there it is. And then we have the code-based QA reviewer. It's just named. It's a markdown file. We'll open it up here and look at it. And it kind of has this format with the name. There's a description, what model it's using, what color, and then it should basically tells it, hey, this is what you are. Your purpose is to do a comprehensive review for quality. You're doing it only read-only. You're a code specialist quality. This is important. You want to give the AI some persona to adapt. That's a tip I've found is if you find yourself stuck with a bug, the trick is to change different personalities using it to analyze the bug, and that'll suss out things. Here's a kind of breakdown of how it works, places to look at, and then this is the part where it's telling it to give us the 1 out of 10 score, gives it a sense of what's what, some guidelines on being specific and actionable, a few more stuff about language, workflow, expectations on output. Now, I didn't write all that. I started off with a very basic idea of what I wanted my agent to be like, and then I asked Claude to help me make it better. And you can see this is generalized. It doesn't have any language or text-specific stuff in it. But if you wanted to, for a project, you can make an agent specific to the project that is a specialist in JS or Node or TypeScript or whatever. And that'll help improve you can give it rules about how you use TypeScript or something like that. So that's that. I think that covers everything. I definitely shipped something above my abilities. I learned a ton. It was amazing. It made me very happy. I was very productive. I really enjoy building things. I'm not one of those people who's sad that he's not fighting with parentheses and syntax anymore. I'm glad that that's out of my hair and I can focus on the product and the features and the technical decisions and the architecture. It's really great. I'm super looking forward to the new models. I can't wait to see what AI is capable of once it gets upgraded. You don't need to know everything. You can build products now. It's so much faster. I feel like I'm 8 people, really, maybe 10. So many things I've written. I have so many projects now. If we go look at my profile, before I started using AI, I didn't even have a custom profile header because I had so few projects. But now that I have so many projects, I needed my own custom profile to point them all out. And I haven't even been using AI a year, and I've done all these things. So yeah, if you're not using AI to program, you're really missing out. It's a lot of fun. It's very productive. You can get a lot done. It's very fun. I'm probably the happiest I've ever been in my career. I haven't figured out how to make money yet. Maybe Changesmith will change that for me. I think it's a really great tool. I'm really excited about it, hoping that some companies adopt it in their workflow. And I'm really looking forward to having users. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I think one of the big lessons of this is that workflow and tools go hand in hand. So pay attention to your workflow. And when you feel friction, talk to Claude about it. Say, hey, I'm getting stuck with this, or I'm kind of annoyed by that. or this takes a lot of time, and together you guys will come up with better tools that work specifically the way you work. So you can really build a workflow that puts you in the zone and you get stuff done. You feel good about it and you're productive, very productive, the most productive you've ever been in your career. So that's the end of my presentation. If you want more videos like this, subscribe to my channel. I'm going to try to start posting videos every couple weeks. I'm definitely going to be talking a lot about AI, but sometimes I'll talk about games and game development because that's my main thing is I make games. The tools are just sort of a side gig that I got into, and AI is sort of allowing me to do much more with tools than I ever did before. I'd love it if you checked out Changesmith. It's at Changesmith.com. I'll put a link down in the description. And last off, if you like commenting, tell me about your workflow or how you wish it worked if you're new to this. Thank you very much for your time. Hope this has been useful and informative, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.